Hello, Happy New Year. This is our first Thursday meditation class of the new year, 2022. And it's appropriate, seems appropriate to me, to talk about New Year's resolutions, goal setting, that type of stuff. But from the perspective of one of the most common claimed benefits of martial arts practice, self-discipline. So often, if I ask a student, how's your practice coming along? Usually the thinking is, I'm not practicing enough. In your own mind, I'm not practicing enough. And so you have to ask yourself why. Now it's a fresh new year. How about making this year better than last year? It really is up to us what happens in our lives, how we respond to the world around us, good, bad, or indifferent. We can't control the world around us, but we can control our response to it. And our response is going to be very much determined by our inner environment. So discipline is a skill. Discipline is a skill just like, anything you repeat, you get better at. If you lift weights, you get stronger. If you practice meditation, your focus gets better. If you have a habit of, that's really what discipline is, it's about your habits. And the discipline is, like we tell in the youth program, do what I have to do before I do what I want to do. Do what I have to do before I do what I want to do. And have to do, maybe the laundry, food shopping, go to work. Yeah, that's one thing, right? If you don't do that, you don't have food, or you don't have clean clothes, or you don't have a job. But how about the things that you want in your life, but in order to have them, in order to get them, in order to be there where you'd like to be, you have to do some things. There's a kind of path. And one of the most common, let me say it this way, Kung Fu is time and work. I like to say achievement through consistent effort over time. But you cannot eliminate the time involved. So time requires patience. Time requires delayed gratification. It's this realizing, recognizing, making important long-term benefits versus short-term benefits. What I want now versus what I want down the road. And they can very much conflict, because what you want right now may not get you, it may keep you from what you want in your life. So goal setting is an essential thing, and so many people will, they make New Year's resolutions, and I think, at best 10% probably keep them. But you got to think about, at least you're thinking about something you feel like you should work on. Like, I want to stop smoking. I want to get in shape. I want to, what? You have to decide. Maybe you're very easily insulted, and so, you're constantly offended. So maybe you learn how to not be so offended so easily, like I see so many people today. And there's reasons for that I'll get into a little bit. So that's why I say how you respond to the world is very much related to your inner environment. And so through our practice, we want to develop a better inner environment. We want to essentially master ourselves and be less affected by the world around us internally, less affected by the people pushing our buttons and controlling our emotions. Like, you made me feel something. Unless they stabbed you or pinched you, you really don't make you feel anything. Emotionally, you're allowing them to make you feel that way. They say something, you don't have to respond to it. You don't have to care what they think. But if it makes sense, if what they say makes sense, that if I listen to that, will it improve me? then maybe you can try to correct it. And that could be a goal, a new habit, a new way of doing things. That could be a resolution. It's like, yeah, a lot of people say I'm very argumentative, so let me try to be less argumentative. Let me listen more and understand better and maybe argue less. So you consciously can work on that and see how far it gets you. Sleep patterns, how can you feel good in the day if you're up half the night? You're not getting enough sleep. So I learned long ago that the traditional most important time, known thousands of years ago, most important time to be sleeping is basically 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. So you come down, it's nighttime, so you want to be deep sleep in the middle of the night. So that 3, 4, 5, your body's rising with the sun. You see? Your whole system, your endocrine system, your hormones, and how you feel is very much affected by poor sleeping habits, not sleeping according to natural cycles. Maybe working on better eating habits. I want to look and feel better, or I want to lose a few pounds, and maybe I can make more healthy choices. I can make a habit of, is this food going to take me where I want to be, or is it just, again, the instant gratification of taste? I really want that now. So people with discipline, there's been studies that, it's like you could put cookies in front of people, and it's like, it could be a bunch of kids, and you say, here, you get one cookie now, or if you wait till I get back, you'll get 2 cookies. And a good percentage of those kids will eat that first cookie. They can't resist it. And so if they had the discipline to wait, they would have gotten 2. But if the brain hasn't been trained to work that way, they don't even understand that they're going to get 2. They probably feel like, well, it doesn't matter if I eat this one because they're going to give me another one later. But no, that wasn't the deal, was it? And so long-term thinking can make a much better life if you're thinking ahead, thinking down the road of what, again, where you want to be, so that you can direct that road. Get on the right road for where you want to be. Think long term, and does this decision now help me get there? It's like in my practice. Many years ago, I learned 1 day missed sets you back 10 days. How many times have you missed a day, right? So there was this everyday have to. Because what I want to be, what I want to know, what I want to master, where I want to be at this point in my life, for example. 5 years, 10 years, 20 years could go by, and you could look back and say, how much time did I waste? But now, today, you can decide not to waste that time. So that 5 years, 10 years into the future from today, you can be completely different. Your benefits, your training, your skills, whether it's for self-defense or for life, will be completely different if you practice consistently. When you make daily choices in the right direction, I could say the right direction for you, but there's also certain rules we have to keep to. So again, healthy eating, good night's sleep, etc. Every time you decide, oh, I'm not going to stay up late, I want to get a good night's sleep because I want to feel good tomorrow. I'm not going to have that drink, or I'm not going to have that cake. I'm going to eat the good food, the healthy food, organic, etc. Every time you make that decision, it's like lifting weights and making muscles bigger. Your brain develops in a way for better discipline, more discipline, stronger will. You develop the will through adversity, through challenges, and overcoming those challenges, making the right choices. So you think about that. Our minds can be crazy. A lot of times negative. So if your mind is working that way, well, why is that? You don't have much control over your thoughts, it seems. But one way to change that is actually writing down the goals that you want for your life. That's why we have it in the lessons of mindfulness. You write down the goals maybe 5 years down the line, and then you write down the steps to get there. What do I have to do this year for that 5-year goal? What do I have to do this month for that year, for that 5-year goal? What do I have to do this week, this day, this moment? What's my best choice right now towards that 5-year goal? You see, that will take your mind in the direction you want. Your thoughts will be consistent with doing the thing that you want to do or need to do to get what you want down the road. So you think about that, you learn to focus on the task at hand. The task at hand being what you actually figured out was needed for today, for this moment. You know, this choice or this choice. Which one is going to steer me in the direction of my goals? And then you do that over and over. You will get closer and closer to where you want to be, what you want to have, whether it's a career or high skills in your practice, or being more emotionally stable, having a better relationship, whatever those goals. This moment is the only time you can do anything about it. But this moment can have direction if you sat down and laid out that direction. It's like, obviously today you just put it in a GPS, tell the GPS where your phone even where you want to go, right? But there was a time when you had to take out a physical map and look. You had to plan it out ahead of time. I want to get here from here. What are all my turns, etc., etc. And it comes all the way back to the first steps. Is it a left out of my street or is it a right? Now the GPS is interesting, the electrical one, computerized one, because every time you're off course, it's going to try to correct, which is interesting. You know, it'll keep telling you you're going the wrong way. So when you have clear goals and you have direction that you've mapped out, you'll know when you're off track. Just like the GPS telling you that. You can, if you're on it on a daily basis, especially if you go so far as journaling what you did. What did you do today for in the direction of your goals, for example? You actually can track that. My daughter's practicing softball. She's a pitcher. We made a whole chart, all the drills she has to do, and then she has to check every time she does them. So that when this is a 6-week chart, so when that 6 weeks is up, she can look back and see exactly what she did or didn't do and why she's better at some things and maybe not so good at other things. And it's like a pitcher throwing a curve. They have to be very good at spins. Well, she could look back and say, I'm not good at my spins. When she looks back on that chart, how many checks did you get on the spins? Once in 6 weeks? How can you be better at those spins? I've done the same thing. That's where I got it from. Of course, we didn't have Excel back in my day. I would draw it with a, with a ruler, make a spreadsheet, and this, and this, and I check. And there were times when it was like I'm in bed and I realized, oh, I didn't do it, and I didn't want the next day to come without getting the check. So that's very motivational. You know, I wanted that thing to go through with all the checks in place. You know, you miss one here and there, but you wanted to be able to look back and say, I did the work. Not only did I plan on doing it, I actually did it, which kind of makes me think of the stop trying and start doing. Every time you try, you lie. Every time you try, it's too easy to have success and not get where you want to be because you didn't get it done. Doing it is getting it done. Trying is just like, I'm going to try to get out of this chair, and you just, I can't right now. You see, I tried. I'm going to try to get out of bed on time so I can get to work on time. I tried. You just don't quite make it, and then you're late. So trying is lying. Stop saying that word to yourself. What is it, Yoda, right? There is no try, only do or do not. And that's a fact. So when someone comes, wants to learn, wants to stop smoking, I have some rules. So one rule is when they come that day with their appointment, I want all their cigarettes. Hand it in. We're going to chuck them out. We might even break them. When I was a child, I did that to my mom. I wanted her to stop smoking. And she'd send me down the block to the corner store, the candy store where they had cigarettes. And I'd buy her the cigarettes. And then I'd bring them home. And I'd open them up in front of her and break them all. Instead of saying I'm not going, I would go. So she spent the money. And I break them. I don't know where that came from, but I did it anyway. So it's sort of that mentality. You have to remove the temptations. If you want to get up early to practice, you can't go out with your friends all night, the night before, because you're not going to be able to get up early and practice. You're going to be tired, you're going to feel like crap. So sometimes you have to say no so you can stay on course. But within the course, you give yourself rest time. You don't overdo it. You don't get so rigid that you burn out. You actually schedule in. Anyway, what is the Sabbath? It's teaching us one day a week, basically do nothing, family, pray, whatever. It's a mentality, it's a philosophy, it's a life principle. You can't go 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Every day needs rest, every week needs rest, every month needs rest. If my daughter's on a 6-week program, for example, the next week is a week off. We don't just start another 6-week program. Off, refresh, start a new program. So that rhythm is important with your goals too. That's how you remain disciplined. Because if you burn out, your discipline is going to go out the window. You're going to start missing, and the more you miss, that becomes a habit. The more you do, the more that becomes a habit. So if within it you allow yourself rest time, you're going to be able to keep it up, and you're going to get much stronger discipline. You're going to develop it. Your willpower you're going to develop. It's going to get stronger. So many people today live in what I call a low-level fight or flight. It's pretty common in the pulses I feel in my clinic that people have this underlying angst, and many of them, oh no I don't, but everything about them says yes they do. We're not aware in general. Unless you're practicing regular meditation, breathing, and something like martial arts or yoga, Tai Chi, the stuff we do, unless you're very, body-mind connected, you're completely unaware of the stress that you have. And it could be since a child that you just carried all this anxiety and this angst, and maybe some terrible things happen to you. And your system is just constantly dumping stress hormones, cortisol, adrenaline into the system. And so you don't feel settled ever. But you think that's normal, and you think everybody feels that way. In fact, I hear that a lot. What, doesn't everybody have that? Doesn't everybody feel like that? Doesn't everybody? No, everybody doesn't. We're all different. You put 5 people in the same stressful situation, you'll get 5 different responses. Ever notice that? People you know? One person's a basket case, the next person is acts like nothing happened. We are very different, and internally we are very different. And a lot of that is about the balance within, that everything's functioning properly. I'm not going to get into it now, but many times I've used the 5 elements as a way to balance everything, from exercise to eat to sleep to meditation. We have to have that all in balance, and it has to be done on a consistent basis in order to have a healthier, happier life. So your discipline, when you're feeling like that, when you're feeling stressed, discipline drops. When you feel stressed, it's like you're reaching for a cigarette, you're reaching for a drink, you're staying up late, you're going out to party, you care less about your goals. You got to care for yourself. And if you're constantly under stress, you're not, it's like day after day is going to be the same, and you're going to get older, things are going to get worse. Before you know it, doctor's telling you need medication for this or that. The sooner you can get on the track for healthy habits, the sooner you can really right your ship and align yourself with what you would want of your life, rather than just what you're getting by chance. Confidence is another thing. So when you're stressed, discipline goes down. You're not doing what you're supposed to do. So your belief in yourself goes down. And when your confidence goes down, you see, that's the thing. You're not regularly doing what you're supposed to do. It's like you don't really know yourself. You lose yourself. And you get caught up in all the myriad things that are always happening. The chaos of the world, really. And so when you don't really have confidence, when you don't really feel like that depth, that deep knowing of yourself, striving, bettering, regularly meditating so your mind is in order, it sort of leads to exactly what I feel like we've been experiencing more and more in the world. And it's this people with so easy to offend, so easily insulted. You say one wrong thing and they're just it's an emotional breakdown. You know, people with all their safe spaces, and it's just odd, really, when life principles that are thousands of years old are one, what's missing, i.e. martial arts training traditionally is an example. But it's like the parent who doesn't want their child to suffer, doesn't want their life to be hard, so they give them everything. Now that child does not know themselves, they do not know adversity, they do not know how to work. And so once they're actually challenged in a way that they have to do for themselves, they lose themselves, they get depressed, and again, easily offended. They want to fix everyone around them so that their life can be good, rather than looking in the mirror and fixing themselves, correcting, adjusting themselves. I mean, who's really broken to say the word fixed? But to make yourself more stronger, less easily insulted. In fact, uninsultable. You know, just you make a decision that what people think and what they say, don't worry about it so much. You'll never control the world around you, and the more you try, the more heartache you're going to have. Just try with your own family. You'll see where that gets you. Suffering is not, this is a Buddhist principle, suffering is unavoidable. And so when you have more of this traditional martial arts background and philosophy, you understand that suffering is a part of life, and it's also what we have to get through in order to grow. That's why we talk about adversity, being challenged, being knocked down, being able to get up. So when something bad happens, you don't fall apart, break down. You actually look at what's the lesson, what's the feeling, literally, how do I feel about this? And you learn that it's like getting punched. You're not made of glass. You're not that easily broken. So when you're emotionally punched, you don't have to have a panic attack or a breakdown, get triggered, in the words of today. You don't have to. Just accept that that's part of life. You're going to feel bad sometimes, and it's okay to feel bad. Another very powerful discipline or habit to develop is staying in the moment. And I spoke a little bit about that with the goal setting, that you set goals and you bring it back to where it's like, what can I do this moment? That's a practice in itself, where life becomes a meditation. So just like when I talk people into meditation, we say, be here now, right? Be here now. Thoughts come in, just let it go. Come back to your focal point. Thoughts come in, mind's wandering, come back to your focal point. You think about how the mind, not for everybody, but for a lot of people, there's a lot of negative thinking, self-doubt, what I can't do, right? Oh, I set a goal, I'll never do it. This thinking. By focusing on the steps and what I can do right now in the present moment towards my goal, I will control the negative thinking. You can't think multiple things at once. If you learn to focus on what you're doing, those negative thoughts will go away. So just like sitting meditation in your day-to-day life, actually doing what you need to do will be the focus. If I'm washing the dishes, that's my focus. I bought my wife the story, what is it, Dolly Parton story. It's a big hardcover book, all photos from her life. And because she's very big around here, Eastern Tennessee, she basically put millions of dollars into Gatlinburg and gave many hundreds, thousands of jobs to people, really built up the area. But you look at her childhood, and in the late 40s and 50s, her family lived in a shack. It could have been the 1850s rather than the 1950s. There was no plumbing, there was no electricity, there was, you're washing your clothes by hand. And there's a certain appreciation and connection to life when you have to do that. The easier we make life, it's like the harder or more the harder our internal, the harder it is to have our emotions settled, and the more disconnected we become to our reality. Because 100 years ago plus, you had to be involved with your reality. You had to, hand wash your clothes, for example, light a fire for light, or a lantern. You got to, blow that out so you don't burn everything. It's like you had to be much more in tune with what was happening. And there's a far greater appreciation. So this is another thing with the Buddhist concepts, is the suffering and also the appreciation or the gratitude for small things. Life is far more fulfilling when we're involved. And I want to say that our practice, our martial arts practice, is to develop that as well. By actually fully engaging yourself in the practice, it creates that habit that can be applied everywhere else in your life, whether it's relationships or job or education. Small steps. Focus on little things right now. And if it's the goals, it's what are the small steps? Focus on that. This step now, this step now, this step now. So that helps you get to, just like meditation in your life. Make life a meditation. Another Buddhist concept comes to mind, and I'm talking about this a little bit because obviously the martial arts, Shaolin monks, things like that. But discipline comes from habits. And if you have this habit to constantly pursue what you don't have, like material things, the monks knew, the people closer to that knew, more Buddhist concepts knew, there is no happiness in material things. Joy could be as simple as gazing at a flower, or looking up at the moon at night, or the stars. It's a completely different feeling than a Mercedes. or, you know, the best clothes or the biggest house, or, and all the things that we stress ourselves over to have and to get, when it never ends. It doesn't matter the billion, trillion, even trillionaires, they're never done. They want 2 trillion. You have 2 trillion, you want 4 trillion. So why follow that kind of unhappiness? Nothing wrong with accomplishing. I'm talking about goal setting on one hand, but also not thinking materialism is the answer to happiness. Happiness can be the pursuit of goals because you feel your purpose in life. If you're pursuing what you really want, then your passion's going to come out and give you energy to do that. Excuse me, just checking the time there. What else we have? So let's get back to where we started. What sort of, well, raise your hand if you have New Year's resolutions. Great. Did you write them down? Okay. Why write them down? A New Year's resolution is a small goal for something that you would like to accomplish now, something that you would like to improve now, right? By writing down a resolution, just like writing a goal, they're basically the same. Just goals can be bigger or smaller. A resolution is pretty much something you're going to do today to get started on a course that you're choosing. Maybe I want to be less insultable. Maybe I want to be less controlled by exterior things and allowing my emotions to be controlled by others. Maybe something like that could be something I just pay attention to, so I pick one good thing. One thing I'd like to improve. Just the fact that I'm aware of it is a huge step. You have to realize that just by making that step of thinking about it, but then writing it down sort of brings it to reality out of just your thinking. You're thinking of something. It's so easy to forget. You could write down, it's beautiful to write down your goals, 5 years, 1 year, monthly, weekly, daily, right? Talked about that. But the same thing, resolution. Okay, I write this down. Now I write it down, maybe put it on the wall. Post-it note, bam. I'm going to eat healthy starting today. Nothing unhealthy passes my lips. Something like that. Or I'm going to stop arguing with my brother. I don't have a brother. This is an example. I have a lot of Kung Fu brothers, Bagua brothers and sisters, but I'm going to stop arguing with my brother. Okay, so now I see that post-it on my wall someplace. Maybe it's on my mirror in my bathroom or on my door, someplace I see every day. If I keep seeing that, it keeps reminding me to be aware, to live consciously about that. Do you think my odds will improve? Absolutely. The ability of my, the possibility of my growing in that area and keeping my resolution ultimately and developing that is going to be profoundly more possible if I simply keep reminding myself. Think about that. What could you write down? What do you want? What could you write down? And what could you put on the wall so that you see it every day and it keeps you on track? It could be as simple as I want to practice every day. Next time Sifu asks me about my practice, I want to say, I practice every day, Sifu. How often you meditate? I meditate every day, Sifu. and you could have a record of actually doing that. Remember to meditate. Put that on the wall. Bam. Remember to meditate. Or remember to practice. Bam. And then you see that, and right away it makes you remember. Maybe you feel guilty if you don't do it. So you're learning to feel guilty about things. So you're getting in the direction you want to be again. This is how we get control of this. This is the practice. All right. So what I want to do with that is just remind you, baby steps. Focus on the small steps. Focus on the here and now. Write things down. Control in your life, control within, improvement on a day-to-day basis comes from this moment, what you choose. Let's go to meditation.